First of all, they beat our developmental system. Good for them, right?
El día de hoy, el nuevo jefe creativo de WWE, Triple H, fue entrevistado por el periodista Ariel Helwani del medio BT Sport. En dicha entrevista, Hunter ha hablado sobre varios temas interesantes como la guerra entre NXT y AEW, el consejo que le dio Vince McMahon antes de abandonar la empresa o la polémica con Sasha Banks y Naomi. Así que aquí les dejo un resumen con lo más destacado de la entrevista. Como muchos recordarán, a partir del año 2019, con la llegada de NXT a USA Network, la marca de desarrollo de WWE empezó a competir directamente con el show principal de AEW, Dynamite, en el mismo horario. Esto fue denominado por varios medios como la guerra de los miércoles. Finalmente fue Dynamite quien terminó teniendo las mejores audiencias, por lo que la marca de desarrollo de WWE se vio forzada a cambiarse a los días martes. Como saben, todo esto sucedió durante el mando de Triple H en NXT, por lo que el Wani le preguntó directamente sobre este tema. Hunter respondió menospreciando la victoria de AEW, mencionando que simplemente vencieron al territorio de desarrollo, y además hizo una burla disimulada diciendo bien por ellos mientras se le escapaba una sonrisa. A pesar de esto, Triple H reveló que nunca vieron este cruce como una guerra. Estas fueron sus palabras.
We do. People put so much pressure on all this competitive wars. It never was that. Look, first of all, they beat our developmental system. Good for them, right? No, it was never that. It was never. There was never even a pressure of like, oh, you have to beat that. Like, it was never that. It's put on the best product we could. Like I said, it shifted over time. During the pandemic, all of that shifted over time, and the opportunity for us to change it back to what it truly was, right? When you look at a lot of the stars that have come through that system that had either started from zero or very little exposure anywhere and then became massive stars with us, God, it's so many people. And we had lost the ability to take those people and groom them from the ground up. We really had, and it's the biggest change that's out there. I'm proud of where Sean and that team have taken that, even under circumstances where the change happened and was massive and all at once, and they sort of kind of got this jumble thrown at them and had to go out there and take that and run with it. The job they've done is amazing, and now I think you're starting to see people begin to, they got a clean slate, and all these athletes you'd never heard of and never seen before, and they're green and don't know what they're doing, and they're out there doing this. You're seeing it now start to pick up tempo again and start to become what it is again. I truly believe in that brand still. I think you'll see that.
Por otro lado, Triple H también habló sobre el consejo que le dio Vince McMahon tras abandonar la compañía, mencionando que le dijo que tenía que hacer lo que él crea que es mejor para el producto, no lo que Vince haría en tal caso. Esta fue su respuesta.
Do you remember when you were told, when you found out that this is now essentially like your ship, that you're now the new captain?
So it sort of wasn't a moment where, hey, this is what's going to happen. There was moments as it was coming up. Look, it's been a discussion point for a lot of years of, what happens if, what is the plan if, right? And, it's always been sort of talked about and as a succession plan and all those things. But then when it really comes to that moment and it really comes to be, it's a different conversation, and your mouth is now. Go prove it.
A moment, a conversation with Vince as he kind of like passed the baton to you? Did he say anything to you? Like when a president leaves, he writes a note.
Yeah.
Was there anything like that? I don't think he wrote a note to you, but any sort of like...
He did.
Yeah.
And, look, in some manner, I think for both of us, it's a tough situation for him. And I think in some manner, like, it's even hard for me to picture now that he's not in the equation. And he's not in any way, shape, or form, but it's hard to think about, right? Like that he's not there. And I think in that moment, hard for him to think about it, hard for him to think about somebody coming in and doing what he's done for 50 years or whatever, successfully, better than anybody in the world. So yeah, there was definitely that moment, definitely giving me advice, but I think also in some manner, most of that advice was centered around like, this is what you've been sitting next to me learning how to do for 25 years or whatever that is, and you got this. Just be confident in your decision making, be, listen to people, be open to ideas, be collaborative with other people, things like that, that it were just wonderful advice. And the truth is, it's my father-in-law. If he's not involved in the day-to-day business, but if I had to say to him, like, man, I find this difficult to deal with, he would give me, some overall advice of like, just, and one of the things that he, I don't want to say outright said, but alluded to me, is like, look, you're going to do things. You cannot think about how I would do things. You have to think about what you want to do and how you feel like it's best for the product. I might not like it, but I understand why you're going to do the things you're going to do. You have to do what you feel is right. But it is a tough thing to get to. No one works together for that long of a period of time and goes, everybody would think to themselves, well, I would have done that slightly differently. Doesn't mean it's right or wrong. We use the term all the time in the business, chocolate and vanilla, right? I want chocolate, you want vanilla. One of us has to pick a flavor. He would always pick the flavor. Now it's my turn to pick the flavor. It's all good. It's all ice cream, right? But it's my time to pick the flavor, and I have to be confident in those decisions. And I can't look back and say, well, what would Vince want to have for a flavor? Because it just wouldn't be authentic then.
From the outside looking in.
Y hablando de la salida de Vince McMahon, otro de los temas que tocó Hunter durante la entrevista fue el abandono de Brock Lesnar del episodio de SmackDown del 22 de julio tras enterarse que Vince se había retirado. Esto contó Hunter al respecto.
Right now, the one that I wanted to ask you about was the story that came out on the day of the news of Vince's retirement, that Brock Lesnar was upset and left, and that you had to kind of convince him to come back. Is that true? Was that a thing that really happened?
There's some truth to it, yeah.
Really?
Look, you have to understand Brock's relationship with Vince, and I think if you look at Brock's relationship across combat sports, period, right? He has a relationship with Dana that's a certain way, his relationship with Vince that's a certain way. But Vince is the devil he knows. And Brock is inherently not a trusting person. It's just how he is. He doesn't like people. Yeah. But he's not a trusting person. And I think in that moment where you just hear Vince is out, now what's going to happen? Like, I'm out of here. Like, you know what I mean? And I think there was just a moment of that. Nothing more, nothing less. It's not like he, looked at it and was like, well, I don't like anybody else here. I don't trust anybody else here. I don't anything else, right? So it was a moment of sort of, I'm going to walk on this, and then we have conversations, and comes back, and I have a great relationship with Brock. Have we had issues over the years? Because at a certain point in time, he was a talent, I was a talent. Talent all get along to some degree, and there's also a very real rivalry between all of them. They all want to be the best. Everybody wants to be the best and be in that spot. And so, yeah, I'm sure there is some level of mistrust or those things, right? And he's always had a relationship. Brock's not let me just deal with these people over here to take that off your plate, Vince. He wants something, he calls Vince directly. When he has wanted to do a deal, he's called Vince directly. There was a period of time when he first came back where he was dealing with me directly, and then his relationship, because he and Vince weren't getting along when he first came back, just from past stuff, and then over time he rekindles his relationship with Vince, and now everything goes through Vince. It's just a different time now, and I think now that he has had a moment to digest it, he digested a little bit, came back to the building, we did business that night, we had long conversations about where we would go next, and liked what he heard, liked how he's been dealt with, so it's all good.
Okay. Would it be
Sobre la polémica del abandono de Naomi y Sasha Banks de hace unos meses, Hunter mencionó que fue una falta de comunicación entre la empresa y las luchadoras. Estas fueron sus palabras.
I ask you about 4 people, and you could give me a yes or no
Yeah.
if they're going to come back, and maybe you can elaborate, or you could plead the 5th if
Yeah,
you want.
yeah.
Fun games?
Sure.
Sasha Banks?
Time will tell. Yeah, time will tell. Yeah, I think in a lot of ways, communication breakdowns are terrible. And there's a communication breakdown there for whatever reason. Starting back up that communication, it's not a difficult process, but it can be a process, right? And you have to go through the process. But she's a unbelievably talented young woman that can do just about anything she wants. It just comes down to what does she want to do now with her life, her career, her whatever that is. Like the passion clearly for what we do. There's a passion for other things as well, and so it comes down to what does she want to do? Because it's got to be right for her, got to be right for everybody. But you know, she is. I think as you've seen over the course of her career of just coming into the PC and NXT, is just an unbelievable performer that I believe in with everything I have. That is one of the biggest stars in our business. So it's just what she.
Otro de los temas interesantes que tocó Triple H fue el posible regreso de The Rock en WrestleMania 39, a lo que Hunter dio a entender que todo depende de la superestrella de Hollywood y su apretado calendario. Sin embargo, mencionó que el jefe tribal lo estará esperando. Estas fueron sus palabras.
When you are maybe the most recognizable man on the planet, the most famous actor in Hollywood, probably the most in-demand social media influencer out there, you're busy. I also, and that busyness is fluid. In a moment's time, this seems like, man, I gotta do this, and then something else comes along 30 seconds later because of the nature of what you do, and it's, I thought I had to do that, but I gotta do this. It can change. You know, a few years ago, he and I were gonna work at WrestleMania, and we even shot the video for it, and we're ready to roll. And then in the course of the year that it was going to happen, it changed. The opportunity changed. I do know this because I've had this conversation with him. At no time when Rock is making a movie in Hollywood does he stand in a position, pull off his elbow pads, and goosebumps fill his entire body because of the electricity that 100,000 people or whatever it is are giving him in that moment, and he passionately feels that like no one else. There is nothing else on the planet that gives you that rush that WWE gives you when you're standing in the center of that ring. And I know he knows that. So I know somewhere deep inside of him is that burning thing to go, oh, I gotta feel that one more time. I gotta get in there one more time because that clock is ticking on can he. Looks like $1 million, but believe me, you look as good as you are. You hit that canvas, stuff starts falling off that isn't supposed to fall off you. You know, it's a tough business. The clock is ticking. So if there is a time, it is becoming now. And I know that there's a burning desire for him to take advantage of that time. It's just a matter of, can he harness all the other things to focus on that long enough for us to get it done? You know, it's up to him. The platform is certainly there. WrestleMania, LA, 2 nights. We've already got 90,000+, I believe, sold.
his cousin?
Yeah, I mean,
It's all there.
yeah, the tribal chief is sitting there waiting for him or anybody else that he wants to, right? It's magic of the highest of levels. In the city that he has become in some manner king of, right? And to have that experience one more time, I know that's got to be burning a hole in him. I know that's got to be a desire. It's just, what else? What other things does he need to put aside, and can he, to make this all work? Because he's juggling a lot. So hopefully the answer is yes. I would love to see nothing more, but we'll see. So to quote you again, I'm saying there's a chance.
By the way, you just gave me chills. That was an incredible promo. I mean,